Military Targets Protocol. As for bombardment on cities, Japanese Wikipedia legitimate military target says, if an army exists to protect the city is considered as an armed city, and the international law allows its enemy to bombard the city indiscriminately, which means that such bombardment does not distinguish civilian houses from militarily occupied buildings. From this point of view, Nagasaki was an armed city, and indiscriminate bombardments were lawful in the first place. But to what extent was Nagasaki armed? Let's compare with the Japanese fightingest aircraft carrier, Zuikaku. Imperial Japanese Navy aircraft carrier Zuikaku. Zuikaku was equipped with 8 dual 127mm caliber anti-aircraft guns to protect herself, and survived 7 battles in the Pacific War. For comparison purpose, let's place Zuikaku at the blast center. The most destroyed is 3-kilometer diameter area. Place Zuikaku at the blast center. We will count layers of anti-aircraft gun defense umbrella by their ranges and ceilings. Zuikaku's 127mm anti-aircraft gun had a range of 14,600 meters and a ceiling of 9,600 meters. As you see, Zuikaku was defended by 16 layers of anti-aircraft gun defense umbrella. Now let's count Nagasaki's anti-aircraft gun defense umbrella of Nagasaki. Mount Kompira had 6 75mm caliber anti-aircraft guns. Each gun had a range of 13,800 meters and a ceiling of 9,100 meters. Nakanoshima had 2 75mm calibers. Kosakaki had 4 75mm calibers. Kaminoshima had 5 105mm caliber anti-aircraft guns. Each gun had a range of 16,300 meters and a ceiling of 10,500 meters. Hoshitori had 2 105mm calibers. Nagasaki was defended by 19 layers of anti-aircraft gun defense umbrella, which was 3 layers thicker than Zuikaku. That's why as many as 26 American bombers had been shot down before the atomic bomb. Conventional U.S. bombers other than B-29s flew at much lower altitude and thus easily got caught by Japanese anti-aircraft fire umbrellas. Japan yet showed off 4 more anti-aircraft guns on Mount Inasa, which were actually wooden fake anti-aircraft guns in order to dissuade Americans from bombarding Nagasaki, especially the northern part, Urakami Industrial Area. Japan thought they could keep Americans at bay by these seemingly 23 layers of anti-aircraft gun defense umbrella, which were 44% thicker than Zuikaku's 16. But B-29 flew at altitude almost the limit of the ceilings and dropped the atomic bomb to minimize American casualties while maximizing the enemy damage in order to drive Japan to surrender. Unfortunately, this was a case that the international law allowed the destruction of a city. Manila. Contrarily, the same international law saved Manila from destruction in late 1941. Soon after the Pearl Harbor attack on December 8, 1941, Japan started to invade the Philippines. As Japanese advanced toward Manila, Americans decided to move all tanks, field guns, trucks, and troops from Manila to Bataan Peninsula and Corregidor Fortress, and told Manila City to declare a non-defended city under the international law, which the Manila City did. Skeptical Japanese troops yet bombarded Manila at first, but received no return fire from the ground. Imperial Japanese Army eventually accepted the non-defended city declaration and stopped bombing the city. Imperial Japanese Army entered Manila without any bloodshed on both sides. The same international law saved civilians, children, historic buildings from destruction in Manila, and Japan could have done the same on Nagasaki also. Let's see Nagasaki if such a choice could have been possible. Take a 105 mm anti-aircraft gun, for example. It was the biggest caliber anti-aircraft gun in Nagasaki, but was designed to be hauled by a 5-ton tractor in 30 minutes and redeployed also in 30 minutes. Those anti-aircraft guns, anti-aircraft machine guns, and searchlights were designed very mobile to avoid enemy's counterattack. Japan could have removed all these weapons and declared the non-defended city on Nagasaki, but Japan did not do so. Americans strictly separated professional soldiers from civilians and opted to move away from Manila to spare civilians and fought the enemy somewhere else. But to the contrary, Japan opted to arm civilians in June 1945 and decided to fight to the bitter end, which actually happened on Nagasaki. But it was all Japan asked for.